On today's video, I'm going to put a compilation of clips together that were all supposed to be their own individual videos about our Bedford QLD, but they're just sitting there and shows and everything else keeps getting in the way. So hopefully you enjoy it. It's a little story of our Bedford QLD, how we got it, where it is now and what the plans for the future are. So enjoy.
Ever since me and my brother were kids, we'd always hear the stories from my granddad about a Bedford QL and see this picture on the wall. My granddad was in the Royal Air Force for his national service and then joined up after his service and became an MT driver, driving many vehicles, but he always says the Bedford QL was by far his favourite and that one day we would get one. So we've always endeavoured that we are going to get him his Bedford QL, and that's where our love and obsession for the Bedford QL stems from. These are some of his trucks. Here he is sat in his Bowser. Unfortunately, like all great projects, you can never afford a good one, so you have to buy one that looks like this. It's not as bad as it looks. It's actually quite good, and most of the parts are there. The fuel tank was the first problem, as you can see. It's absolutely full of rust. But the engine and the running gear has mostly been gone through, and that was the selling point for me, was the engine in particular, is that it does run and drive. It's just the body's a bit shabby, but with a little bit of fuel in a can, we were able to drive it straight off the truck. It had come down from Norfolk all the way to Cornwall. We're not far from Land's End. And yeah, as you can see, the truck drove fine off. The brakes didn't work at all. I was later to find out why. And the handbrake didn't work either, because one of the cylinders at the back was totally and utterly seized and locked up. That became a nightmare, as you'll see as this video goes on. But you can see it comes with plenty of parts, plenty to keep us busy. First thing I did was put the wings back on and get a few bits bolted to it to make it look a bit more like a QL, and then started looking at why the brakes weren't working, and it soon became apparent the rear slave cylinder was absolutely seized. It was the one that was a problem to get at, because naturally the other side had been replaced with a new one. They just decided not to do this one because it was an absolute pig. Same with the brake pipes. All the brake pipes had been replaced except for this one, which was an absolute pig. The brake master cylinder, as you can see, is blocked. What that actually is the seals are completely and utterly expanded, 10 times bigger than they were supposed to be, shredded and forced themselves through the system, which was an absolute nightmare to clean out. But this spare one came with the QL that, as you can see, looks like it has been found at the bottom of the Atlantic, but the seals on it were absolutely mint, better than even the modern one. So I rebuilt the old master with the old cylinders, but then needed to cheer myself up and paint the truck, get the unit markings on it, because I'd had enough of tinkering with the pigs of jobs that had been left. But they did get the brakes going, managed to get some markings on it, get a new cupola cover for it, and start feeling good about ourselves, get the little finishing touches on it, and revive some of the love for the truck. And then naturally things start going wrong again, as the rebuilt front brakes were actually completely rusted solid, and I had to go through those as well. But it was finally time to take it out on the road and see how she would do.
Our 1945 Bedford QLD that was built by somebody with a potato, going on its first drive today. I haven't driven it more than about 500 yards, doing 6 miles. I mean, what could go wrong? Question is, will she fire straight back up? Oh yes! What a machine! Drove faultless. Well, Knocker 2 made it fine. It was about, in total, maybe 7 miles. I've used just under a gallon of fuel. I don't know what these are supposed to get to the gallon, but it ran nice. She's set up in the field, ready for the show now. Let's hope the weather holds.
Unfortunately, the weather did not hold and it rained most of the weekend, but must admit the QL did look good with the bofas attached to the back.
Well, we made it about 500 yards and the water pump is clearly leaking worse than I thought. We don't no water left in the radiator, so my brother's gone to get some. Top tip, make sure the gaskets seal when you rebuild an engine. This is a rebuilt engine that nearly every gasket leaks on. Oh, the fun of an old truck. Well, we're stuck on the side of the road waiting for my brother to get some water after the water pump gasket has decided to lose more water than I expected. We might as well have a look round it. 1945 Bedford QLD, which is the general service body, which it will have on it at some point. That's actually where it's going now, is to start having the body put back on. Yes, if anybody knows RAF markings, you'll notice that the markings are incorrect. That's because that is my grandfather's service number, and the truck is a sort of rolling memorial to him. So we've not gone for historical accuracy. It's purely because that was his number. It needs the whole rear body doing. I've got most of the frame and the hood bows. It also needs the fuel tank going through. A hell of a lot of rust came out of that when I tipped it upside down, and somebody's bondoed the bottom by the looks of it. The cab's not too bad. It needs a few bits, bottoms of the doors. Somebody decided to, rather than fix the bit at the bottom that always rots, is just screw an entire panel over the door, because I mean it will never sweat and then rot out bits of the door that never rot out. I've also got to fill in the gaps that have been cut out and fix some fairly sketchy welding. I mean, it's solid, but it's ugly. The running gear is actually alright apart from the water leak, which is annoying because it's awkward to get to considering the engine's supposed to have been rebuilt. So I'll have to go through that again, stop that water leak from the water pump, so I can fit a temperature gauge in at the same time. Yes, I know a temperature gauge isn't original, but on a truck this old, why not just fit a gauge? It also has a good cupola cover. That's just a more weatherproof one. I don't want the canvas one getting faded really quick. So yeah, like I said, the numbers are incorrect, but as you can see, the truck is called Knocker 2 at the top there. That was my granddad's nickname when he was in the RAF. That's his service number on the door, and he served in 2nd Tactical Air Force 83 Group, as well as a few other units, but 83 Group went into Normandy and also were part of the Market Garden operation. They would have been in 30 Corps as well, even though there wasn't a whole lot of air support for Market Garden. 83 Group were involved in that, so although he served post-war, we can have World War II era markings on it as well. For anyone wondering about the QL, the basic history of a QL is the Bedford had got military contracts, and they got the famous MW 2-wheel drive 1500 weight truck, I believe it is, and then they had the OYs and things like that. But they're derivatives of a civilian truck, militarised. The QL is the first British, or certainly Bedford, dedicated military vehicle. It was made solely for the military under the new military contract. And it's called QL. I must admit, I only found this out recently. It's QL for quadruple locomotion, as it's the first 4-wheel drive truck, certainly a dedicated British military truck. It is a 4-wheel drive truck. It's 2-wheel drive normally,
but you can put it into low range. When you put it into low range, it goes into 4-wheel drive. The inside's not too bad. New seat covers. It's still got the rifle racks in place, even as the fire extinguisher still in place. That's the new cupola cover I've got. All the engine covers and things are there. Everything seems to work. It took a lot of wiring. There's no wiring when it came. The wiring diagrams are terrible. They're all black and white and tiny. But ignore the man's beer there. That was my granddad's drink, so we keep one in the truck. I'm not drinking and driving. I know what everyone's thinking. Why has an SAS Living History group got a Bedford QL? Well, apart from the fact, because cool. This was our grandfather's favourite truck, and he always said he'd have one. He used to drive them in the 1950s in the Royal Air Force when he was stationed over here, when he was stationed in Germany, until the new contract in the late 50s came out, where Germany was supposed to start supplying trucks, and these were scrapped. And my granddad says he drove them to scrapyards and piled them 10 high. This was his favourite truck, and for his whole life he always said he's going to have his dream Bedford. And the prices either kept going up every time he saved enough money, they've gone up again. It never happened. Life always gets in the way of things like that. But me and my brother always promised him, we're going to get your Bedford no matter what. And finally we found, well, in fact the Bedford found us. I was contacted by somebody up north who says that they might be selling one. As I said, I might be in the market soon for one. And it all worked out, managed to get it transported down. My granddad was very ill at the time. And unfortunately he passed away about 2 days after this deal went through. And we considered stopping the deal, but after talking to my brother, we thought, we always said we'd get the QL, so this isn't mine or my brother's, it's still, to us, our granddad's Bedford. Hence Knocker 2 and the unit markings. And that's why we've got it. And maybe we'll mark it up as something for in this country. You know, like we could do it as for when the SAS were training in this country, we could have it as a unit that was supporting them. But it's just to keep the truck alive and keep our granddad's memory alive and fulfill that dream he always had. He's now got his truck. And his number will always be on it, his units. There'll be a picture of him in it and some pictures of him and his mates when they were in the Royal Air Force. And so that's why an SAS group has got it. It's just fulfilling that promise we made a long, long time ago when we started reenacting. We will have the Bedford. We have the Bedford. Hopefully that was of some interest. And stay tuned with the channel for future updates, future shows. We've got lots of plans for it and plenty of long drives planned in the future. See you in the next one.